Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars pass by through the big window. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. He was angry, very angry. The meeting with the aliens had gone wrong. Very wrong. Commander Lisa. Baker walked up to him. She looked tired and sad. Captain, we just got the message from Earth. The Galactic Council voted. They passed the new law. Jake closed his eyes. He already knew what she was going to say, but he had to hear it. Tell me. Resolution 4471 passed. Humans are now a probationary species. We can't explore new worlds. We can't build new colonies. We have to stop making weapons. And we have to cut our fleet by 70%. Jake opened his eyes and looked at the stars again. Somewhere out there, in a big space station, alien beings were probably laughing at humans right now. They thought humans were just stupid children who got lucky and found space travel too early. Did you see the vote? Lisa asked quietly. Jake nodded. He had watched it on the big screen in his ready room. The Galactic Council chamber was huge, filled with beings from across the galaxy. The Vorthic looked like walking crystals. The Etherians were made of pure energy. There were dozens of other species, all much older than humans. When the vote was announced, something horrible happened. The aliens started laughing. Not all of them made sounds like human laughter, but Jake could tell they were all amused. The Vorthek representative's crystal body flashed with bright colors. The Etherian Prime's energy form pulsed and danced. Even the quiet Zeltharians made chittering sounds. The worst part was what the Vorthik said after the vote. Its voice came through the translator, as cold and sharp as ice. Humanity is a species of violent children who stumbled into the stars too early. They need time to grow up. A few 100 years should be enough. More laughter. More flashing lights. More energy pulses of amusement. Jake remembered how small the human section looked in that massive chamber. Only 12 humans were there, and they looked like tiny dots in an ocean of alien beings. The message was clear. Humans didn't matter. They were nothing special. They were just another young species that needed to be put in its place. Captain, Lisa said, there's more. President Cole is calling an emergency meeting. All fleet commanders are to report to Luna Base immediately. Jake nodded. Set course for Luna. Maximum speed. As the ship turned toward Earth's moon, Jake thought about the restrictions. No new colonies meant humans would be trapped in there. 17 star systems forever. No new weapons meant they couldn't defend themselves if someone attacked. A smaller fleet meant they couldn't even patrol their own space properly. But the worst part was the technology ban. Humans had been working on something called quantum manipulation technology. It was new and exciting, and it might change everything. But now they had to stop all research and destroy everything they had built. 3 days later, Jake stood in an underground room on Luna Base. The room was deep beneath the moon's surface, hidden from alien sensors. Around the large table sat the most important people in human space. Admiral Kate Sullivan was there. She was the toughest person Jake had ever met. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her blue eyes were cold as space. She had fought in the border wars 20 years ago, and never lost a battle. Dr. Ben Wright sat across from her. He was the smartest person Jake knew when it came to alien life. He had studied every species in the galaxy and knew their secrets. His hands were covered in scars from handling dangerous alien specimens. General Paul Harrison was at the head of the table. He had built the defense systems that protected Earth and the other human worlds. His face was hard and serious, like a man who had seen too much war. President Ryan Cole appeared on a holographic screen. He looked older than Jake remembered, with new lines around his eyes and gray in his hair. The stress of dealing with the aliens was wearing him down. Ladies and gentlemen, Cole said, we have a problem. The Galactic Council thinks we're children. They think we'll roll over and accept their rules. They think we'll give up our dreams and stay in our little corner of space forever. Admiral Sullivan leaned forward. What are our options, Mr. President? Officially, we comply. We shut down our colonies. We destroy our research. We cut our fleet. We become good little humans and hope that maybe in a few hundred years they'll let us explore again. And unofficially? General Harrison asked. Coles. Image flickered, and when it came back, his expression was different. Harder. Unofficially, we tell them to go to hell. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Admiral Sullivan smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I was hoping you'd say that. Dr. Wright spoke up. We have advantages they don't know about. The quantum manipulation. Research isn't completely destroyed. We hid some of it. And we've discovered something about humans that might surprise them. What kind of something? Jake asked. Something that explains why they're really afraid of us. It's not just that we're violent or unpredictable. It's something deeper. Something in our biology that they've never seen before. General Harrison stood up. We need to be careful. If we're going to resist, we need to be smart about it. We can't fight them openly. Not yet. Admiral Sullivan nodded. We go underground. We pretend to comply while we build our real strength. We use the colonies they think we're abandoning. We continue the research they think we've stopped. And we prepare for the day when we can show them what humans are really capable of. President Cole's image leaned forward. This is dangerous. If they catch us, they might decide to wipe us out completely. They're going to try that anyway. Sullivan said, species like us don't stay locked up forever. They know it, and we know it. The only question is whether we'll be ready when the time comes. Jake looked around the room. These people were talking about defying the most powerful force in the galaxy. It was crazy. It was dangerous. It was probably going to get them all killed. But as he thought about the laughter in the council chamber, about the way the aliens had dismissed humanity like they were nothing special, Jake felt something burning in his chest. Pride, anger, determination. What do you need from me? He asked. Admiral Sullivan's smile got wider. We need you to take your ship to the edge of human space. There are some colonies out there that officially don't exist anymore. But they're still there, and they're still human. We need someone to coordinate with them. What kind of colonies? The kind that have been preparing for this day for a long time. The kind that never trusted the aliens in the first place. The kind that have been building things the Galactic Council would be very unhappy to learn about. Jake felt his heart beating faster. When do we leave? Tomorrow. And Captain? Sullivan's voice got very quiet. Once you leave, there's no going back. The Galactic Council will consider you a rebel. Earth will officially disavow any knowledge of your mission. You'll be on your own. Jake thought about his family back on Earth. His wife, his 2 kids. If he did this, he might never see them again. But if he didn't do this, they would spend their lives as prisoners in their own star system. I understand, he said. As the meeting broke up, Jake walked to the window that looked out over the moon's surface. In the distance, he could see Earth hanging in the black sky like a blue marble. It looked so small and peaceful from here. But Jake knew the truth. Earth was about to become the center of a rebellion that would shake the galaxy. The aliens thought they had put humans in their place. They thought they had won. They were about to learn that humans didn't give up. They never gave up. And when you backed a human into a corner, you didn't get surrender. You got war. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council's decision. To everyone watching, it looked like humans were following the rules. Colonies were being shut down. Research stations went dark. The human fleet was getting smaller every day. But Amy Foster knew the truth. She floated in her secret laboratory, hidden deep inside a hollow asteroid, far from any trade routes. The lab didn't officially exist. According to all records, Dr. Foster was back on Earth, working in a boring government office. Amy stared at the machine in front of her. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Wires and crystals and metal parts that seemed to bend in impossible ways. She had built it from stolen alien technology and human imagination. "Computer, run test sequence 47, she said. The machine hummed to life. Energy flowed through its circuits like liquid light. Then something amazing happened. A small metal ball on one side of the lab disappeared and reappeared on the other side. It hadn't traveled through space. It had jumped from one place to another instantly. Amy smiled. She had done it. She had created a new kind of faster-than-light travel. It didn't use the galactic hyperspace network that the aliens controlled. This was purely human technology. Her communicator beeped. "Dr. Foster, this is Colonel Steve Martinez. Are you there?" Amy pressed the button. "I'm here, Steve. What's the situation?" "We just got 20 more volunteers. Former fleet officers who were officially discharged last month. They're ready to join the Shadow Fleet." Amy nodded. The Shadow Fleet was Colonel Martinez's project. While the official human fleet was being cut down, Martinez was secretly building a new one. The ships were hidden in places the aliens would never think to look. Old mining stations, abandoned research facilities, even inside some of the colonies that humans had supposedly left. "How many ships do we have now?" Amy asked. 43 combat vessels, 12 support ships, and Dr. Foster. "They're not normal ships. The quantum modifications you designed are working. These ships can do things that should be impossible." Amy felt a chill of excitement. The quantum modifications were her greatest discovery. She had found a way to use human consciousness to control quantum fields. It sounded crazy, but it worked. Human minds could somehow reach into the basic structure of reality and change it. "Any word from Agent Turner?" Amy asked. "She's still undercover in the Vorthic embassy. Her last report was ... interesting." Amy waited. Rachel Turner was their spy inside the alien community. She had been working there for 2 years, pretending to be a translator. The aliens trusted her because they thought humans were too stupid to be dangerous spies. "She found something in the Vorthic archives," Martinez continued. "Ancient records that mention humans. Dr. Foster, these records are millions of years old. They talk about a species that can manipulate reality with their minds." Amy felt her heart racing. "What did they say exactly?" "The translation is rough, but it talks about the ones who dream with their eyes open, and the species that makes impossible things possible. The Vorthic have been watching for a species like this for a very long time." Amy turned off the machine and floated over to her computer. She pulled up her research files. For months, she had been studying the quantum effect that humans seemed to have. It wasn't just that they could build better technology. It was that human consciousness itself seemed to be connected to the quantum field. When humans really focused on something, when they wanted it badly enough, reality seemed to bend around them. It was why human technology developed so fast. It was why human intuition was so good at solving problems. It was why humans could survive in situations that should kill them. "Martinez, I need you to contact Dr. Wright. Tell him to meet me at the backup lab on Kepler 442b, and tell him to bring everything he has on human brain scans." "Copy that." "But Dr. Foster, there's something else." We made contact with the Kepler underground. Amy had heard whispers about the Kepler underground. They were supposed to be human colonies that had never officially existed. Places where humans had been preparing for war since the day they joined the Galactic Council. What did they say? "They want to meet. Their leader is someone called Commander Lisa Park. She says they've been waiting for this moment for decades. Amy looked out the small window of her lab. In the distance, she could see the lights of a small human outpost. It was supposed to be abandoned, but she knew better. Humans were everywhere in this part of space, hiding in the shadows, building things the aliens couldn't imagine. 3 days later, Amy stood in a conference room on Kepler 442b. The planet was officially empty, but she had seen at least 50 ships in orbit. The underground base was huge, carved into the mountains and hidden from orbital sensors. Commander Lisa Park was younger than Amy had expected. She had short black hair and bright green eyes that seemed to see everything. She wore a simple gray uniform with no rank insignia. "Dr. Foster," Park said, "welcome to the Real Human Space Program." Amy looked around the room. There were maps of the galaxy on the walls, but they were different from the official ones. These maps showed star systems that weren't supposed to exist, trade routes that weren't on any chart, and colonies that had been built in secret. "How long have you been preparing for this?" Amy asked. "Since the day humans joined the Galactic Council," Park replied. "Some of us never trusted the aliens. We knew they would try to control us eventually. So we started building a backup civilization." Dr. Ben Wright entered the room, carrying a bag full of data tablets. His face was excited and worried at the same time. "Amy, I've been analyzing the brain scans you requested. The quantum effect is real. Human brains are different from every other species we've studied. We have structures that shouldn't exist." Amy sat down. "What kind of structures?" "Quantum entangled neural networks. Parts of our brains that exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. When humans think really hard about something, we're not just processing information. We're actually changing the probability fields around us." Commander Park leaned forward. "What does that mean in practical terms?" Dr. Wright pulled up a holographic display. It showed a human brain, but with strange glowing areas that seemed to shift and move. "It means humans can make impossible things happen just by believing they can happen. It's why our technology works better than it should. It's why we can solve problems that stump alien scientists. It's why we survive things that should kill us." Amy stared at the display. "The aliens know about this. Some of them do. The older species have legends about a race they call the Reality Shapers. They've been watching for millions of years, waiting for a species like us to show up." Park stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Amy could see human workers building something that looked like a massive ship, but it was the wrong shape, with curves and angles that hurt to look at. "That's our first quantum battleship," Park said. "It can exist in normal space and quantum space at the same time. It can phase through solid matter, manipulate gravity, and even stop time in small areas." Amy felt a chill. "How is that possible?" "Because the humans who built it really wanted it to work. Their consciousness reached into the quantum field and made it happen." Dr. Wright nodded. "We're not just another species, Amy. We're something new, something the galaxy has never seen before. And that's why they're afraid of us." Amy looked at the data on her tablet. The quantum signatures were getting stronger every day. As more humans learned about their abilities, the effect was spreading. It was like humanity was waking up to something it had always been able to do. "What's our next move?" she asked Commander. Park turned away from the window. "We stop hiding. We've been building ships, training soldiers, and developing technology for years. The aliens think we're weak and defeated. It's time to show them what humans can really do." Amy felt something stirring in her chest. It was excitement and fear and determination all mixed together. "Are we really going to fight the entire galaxy?" Park smiled. "We're not going to fight them. We're going to show them that there's a better way. The Galactic Council rules through fear and control. They keep species locked in their place for thousands of years. But humans don't accept that kind of future. Dr. Wright closed his tablet. I've been in contact with other species. Quietly, there are a lot of alien races that are tired of being controlled by the Council. They're just waiting for someone to lead them. And you think that someone is us? Amy asked. I think humans are the only species in the galaxy that's too stubborn to accept defeat, Park replied. The Council made a mistake when they tried to put us in a cage. They should have remembered that humans don't just break out of cages. Amy looked around the room. These people were talking about changing the entire galaxy. It was impossible. It was insane. But as she thought about the quantum field and the way human consciousness could reshape reality, she realized something important. Humans specialized in making impossible things happen. When do we start? She asked. Park's smile got wider. We already have. President Cole is about to make an announcement. He's going to tell the galaxy that humans are fully complying with the Council's demands. But while he's saying that, we'll be sending a different message. Amy felt her heart beating faster. What message? That humanity is done being afraid, that we're done following the rules, that we're about to show the galaxy what happens when you try to keep humans, though Captain Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of the massive space station, watching thousands of alien ships floating in the darkness. This was the Galactic Council's main headquarters, a structure so large it had its own gravity. Today, humanity would face its final humiliation. The Terran Compliance Review was supposed to be a simple meeting. Human representatives would confirm that they were following all the Council's rules, and then everyone would go home. But Jake knew better. This was a show. The aliens wanted to parade humans in front of the galaxy like defeated prisoners. Dr. Amy Foster stood beside him, carrying a small metal device that looked like a simple scanner. She had been nervous for days, checking and rechecking the device's settings. Jake didn't know exactly what it did, but he knew it was important. How are you feeling? Jake asked quietly. Amy looked pale, terrified. If this doesn't work, we're all dead. And if it does work, then we're probably still dead, but at least we'll die as free humans. Jake nodded. He understood. Today, humanity would either submit to the galaxy's will or declare war on the most powerful force in the universe. There was no middle ground. They walked through the station's corridors toward the main council chamber. The hallways were enormous, designed for beings much larger than humans. Jake felt like a child walking through a building made for giants. Other alien species walked past them, some floating, others sliding, others moving in ways that hurt to look at. A few looked at the humans with curiosity, but most ignored them completely. After all, humans were just another minor species here for a routine compliance check. The council chamber was even bigger than Jake remembered. The ceiling was so high. It disappeared into darkness. Thousands of seats arranged in a massive circle, each one occupied by a representative of a different species. At the center was a small platform where the humans would stand. Jake looked up at the viewing galleries. Millions of beings across the galaxy were watching this broadcast. For most of them, this would be their first time seeing humans. The message was clear. This is what happens to species that don't know their place. The human delegation was tiny. Only 12 people, standing in a small group on the platform. They looked like toys in the massive chamber. The Vorthic representative's crystal body flashed as it spoke. We are here to conduct the required compliance review for the species known as humanity. You will answer our questions with simple yes or no responses. Jake felt anger building in his chest. They were being treated like children who had misbehaved. At school, question 1, the Vorthic continued. Has humanity ceased all expansion beyond your designated 17 star systems? President Cole's voice came through the communication system from Earth. Yes. Question 2. Has humanity destroyed all research into banned technologies? Yes. Question 3. Has humanity reduced its military fleet by the required 70%? Yes. Each answer felt like a punch to Jake's stomach. They were. Lies, of course, but the galaxy didn't know that. To everyone watching, humanity was surrendering completely. The questions continued for an hour. Each one was designed to make humans look weak and defeated. Have you stopped building weapons? Yes. Have you accepted permanent restrictions on your technology? Yes. Do you understand that you are not ready for full galactic citizenship? Yes. Finally, the Etherian Prime began to speak. This ancient being was one of the first species to reach the stars, and its voice carried the weight of millions of years. Young. Humans, the Prime said, its energy form pulsing with what it thought was kindness. You must understand that your species is not ready for the responsibilities of true galactic citizenship. Your aggression and unpredictability make you dangerous. To yourselves and others. The chamber was silent except for the Prime's words. But do not despair. With proper guidance and patience, perhaps your great-grandchildren may earn the right to explore beyond your small corner of space. Until then, accept your limitations and learn to be content with what you have. The chamber erupted in what Jake could only describe as applause. Different species made different sounds, but the message was the same. Everyone thought this was wise and good, but then something happened that changed everything. The Vorthic representative decided to add one final insult. A holographic display appeared above the platform, showing scenes from Earth's history. But these weren't normal historical images. They had been edited to show only humanity's worst. Moments. Wars, disasters, cruelty, failure. The message was clear. Humans were violent primitives who couldn't be trusted with real power. Jake felt something snap inside him. Around him, the other. Humans were staring at the display with growing anger. They were being portrayed as monsters in front of the entire galaxy. That's when Jake did something that had never been done in the history of the Galactic Council. He stood up. The chamber fell silent. Every eye, sensor, and detection device in the massive room focused on him. Jake walked to the center of the platform, his footsteps echoing in the silence. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? Jake said, his voice carrying across the chamber, thanks to the amplification systems. It's not our violence. It's not our unpredictability. He paused, looking around at the thousands of alien faces staring at him. It's that we remember every slight, every insult, every moment of injustice. And we never, ever forget who our enemies are. The silence stretched on. Jake could feel the weight of the galaxy's attention on him. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the chamber. He turned his back on the assembled representatives and walked toward the exit. Where do you think you're going? The Vorthic representative demanded. Jake stopped, but didn't turn around. Home, to prepare for war. The chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens were shouting. Energy beings were pulsing with alarm, and mechanical species were making sounds like grinding gears. But Jake kept walking. Behind him, the rest of the human delegation followed. Dr. Foster was the last to leave, and as she reached the exit, she pressed a button on her device. Nothing seemed to happen at first. Then, across the galaxy, 17 star systems vanished from the hyperspace network. In an instant, humanity had cut itself off from galactic civilization completely. The chaos in the chamber grew louder. The council members were trying to understand what had just happened. How had humans severed their connection to the galactic network? It should have been impossible. Jake didn't wait to hear their confusion. He and the other humans walked quickly to their ships, which were docked at the station's port. As they boarded, Jake activated his communicator. Admiral Sullivan, this is Captain Morrison. The bridges are burned. I repeat, the bridges are burned. Sullivan's voice came back immediately. Understood, Captain. Welcome to the rebellion. As Jake's ship pulled away from the station, he looked back at the massive structure. Inside, the most powerful beings in the galaxy were probably trying to figure out how to respond to humanity's defiance. Jake activated the ship's communication system and sent a message to every human world. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel New Terra. As of this moment, humanity is no longer bound by Galactic Council restrictions. We are no longer their subjects. We are no longer their supplicants. We are free. He paused, thinking about the long journey ahead. The galaxy thought they could put us in a cage. They thought they could make us accept their limits. They were wrong. Today, we showed them that humans don't negotiate with bullies. We don't beg for permission to exist. And we don't accept defeat. Through the ship's windows, Jake could see other human vessels joining them. Ships that weren't supposed to exist, carrying people who were supposed to be defeated. To every human listening to this message, Jake continued, the war for our freedom has begun. The galaxy mocked us, so we're going to show them what mockery costs. Behind them, the Galactic Council station was already trying to re-establish contact with human space, but their messages were bouncing off empty space. The 17 human star systems had vanished from their sensors as completely as if they had never existed. Dr. Foster walked onto the bridge, her face pale but determined. Captain, the quantum field disruption is holding. They can't track us. They can't follow us, and they can't stop us. Jake nodded. What's our next move? We go home. We gather our forces. And then we show the galaxy what happens when you try to keep humans locked up. As the ship entered hyperspace using Amy's new technology, Jake thought about the expression on the Vorthik representative's crystal face when he had walked out of the chamber. Shock, confusion, and underneath it all, something Jake had never seen from an alien before. Fear. The galaxy had spent millions of years believing that power came from age and size and control. They had never met a species that believed power came from the refusal to surrender. They were about to get an education. Jake looked out at the stars streaming past the ship. Somewhere out there, the galaxy's most powerful beings were probably meeting an emergency session, trying to figure out how to respond to humanity's rebellion. But Jake wasn't worried about what they would do. He was thinking about what humans would do. And for the first time since the General Paul Harrison stood on the bridge of the human ship Thunderstrike, watching the slave planet Kalari Prime grow larger in the view screen. Below him, 3 billion Kalari people lived in chains, working in mines and factories for their Vorthik masters. They had been slaves for 3,000 years. Today, that was going to change. General, Colonel Steve Martinez said, walking up beside him. The Shadow Battalion is ready for deployment. But sir, we're outnumbered 50-1. Harrison smiled. Good. That means we won't have to look very hard to find targets. The Kalari looked almost human, except for their blue skin and large eyes. They had been a peaceful species when the Vorthik found them. Too peaceful to fight back when the crystal beings decided they needed workers for their empire. But Harrison had studied the Kalari. They weren't weak. They had just never had a reason to fight. Today, humans were going to give them that reason. Begin the assault. Harrison ordered. The Thunderstrike dropped out of hyperspace right above the planet's main city. Around it, 42 other human ships appeared from nowhere, using Dr. Foster's new quantum technology. The Vorthik garrison never saw them coming. Colonel Martinez and his soldiers used something the galaxy had never seen before. They called themselves quantum commandos, and they could do things that broke the laws of physics. One moment they were solid, the next they were walking through walls like ghosts. They could stop bullets in mid-air, leap impossible distances, and move faster than the eye could follow. It wasn't technology doing these things. It was human will, focused through their unique connection to the quantum field. Martinez phased through the wall of the Vorthic Command Center, his body shifting in and out of normal space. The crystal beings inside turned to face him, their forms flashing with alarm. "Surrender," Martinez said calmly. The Vorthic commander, a being twice Martinez's size, laughed. Its crystal body rang like a bell. "You are one small human. We are many. You cannot win." Martinez smiled. "I'm not one human. I'm humanity, and we don't lose." What happened next became legend across the galaxy. Martinez moved like liquid lightning, his body shifting between dimensions. When the Vorthic fired their weapons, the energy beams passed right through him. When he struck them, his fists became solid at the last instant, shattering their crystal forms. In 12 minutes, the entire Vorthic garrison was defeated. Not killed, just defeated. The humans had learned something important. Dead enemies became martyrs. Humiliated enemies became examples. As the Vorthic survivors were loaded onto their own ships and sent away, something amazing happened. The Kalari came out of their hiding places. For the first time in 3,000 years, they walked freely in their own cities. An old Kalari woman approached Martinez. Her blue skin was marked with scars from years of hard labor, but her eyes were bright, with something that had been missing for generations. Hope. "Why?" she asked in broken galactic standard. "Why did you help us?" Martinez looked at her, then at the thousands of Kalari gathering in the streets. "Because no one should be property. Because freedom is something every thinking being deserves. Because it's the right thing to do." The old woman began to cry. Around her, other Kalari were doing the same. But these weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of joy. Within hours, the news of Kalari Prime's liberation spread across the galaxies. Underground networks. The official news services controlled by the Galactic Council tried to ignore it, but they couldn't stop the truth from spreading. Humanity had done something impossible. They had defeated a Vorthic garrison without suffering a single casualty. And they had done it for no reason except that slavery was wrong. Back on Earth, Dr. Ben Wright was making discoveries that would change everything. Working with liberated Kalari scientists, he had learned more about the human quantum ability. "It's not just about manipulating matter," Wright explained to Admiral Kate Sullivan during a secure communication. "It's about manipulating possibility itself. When humans really believe something should happen, reality bends to make it happen." Sullivan nodded from her command ship. "What are the limits? We don't know yet. But Admiral, we're getting reports from across the galaxy. Other species are starting to rebel against the Council. The Threnody have stopped sending tribute. The Kovash are refusing to follow Council military orders. The Epsilon Collective is ignoring trade restrictions." Sullivan felt a chill of excitement. "They're following our example? More than that. They're asking to join us. Species that have been under Council control for thousands of years are ready to fight for their freedom. They just needed someone to show them it was possible." The real test came when the Galactic Council sent a massive fleet to retake Kalari Prime. 200 ships, the largest military force assembled in decades. They expected to find a small human garrison that would surrender immediately. Instead, they found Captain Jake Morrison waiting for them with a fleet of ships that shouldn't exist. The Council fleet was commanded by Admiral Zixkoff, a veteran of a dozen galactic conflicts. He had never lost a battle in his 300-year career. He opened communication with the human ships, expecting to accept their surrender. "Human vessels," he said, his voice carrying the authority of ages, "you are in violation of Galactic Council law. Surrender immediately, and you will be treated with mercy." Morrison's reply came back immediately. "Admiral, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel New Terra. We're not in violation of your laws, because we don't recognize your authority. Leave this system immediately." Zexkoth couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You have 43 ships. I have 200. Your defeat is inevitable." "You have 200 ships," Morrison agreed. "But we have something you don't." "What is that?" "We have nothing left to lose." The battle that followed changed galactic warfare forever. The human ships moved in ways that violated everything the Council knew about physics. They phased in and out of normal space, appeared in two places at once, and somehow made their weapons more powerful just by wanting them to be. But the most shocking thing wasn't the technology. It was the way the humans fought. They didn't try to destroy the Council ships. Instead, they disabled them, rescued the crews, and sent them home with a message. "Tell the Council," Morrison broadcast on all frequencies, "that humanity doesn't want to conquer anyone. We just want to be free. But if they keep trying to put us back in chains, we'll free everyone else too." Admiral Zexkoth found himself on a human rescue ship, his own vessel disabled, but his crew safe. He had lost the battle without losing a single soldier. It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was completely outside his understanding of how war worked. "Why didn't you kill us?" he asked Morrison when they met face to face. Morrison looked at him with something that might have been pity. "Because dead enemies can't change their minds. But defeated enemies can learn." As the Council fleet limped home, something unprecedented happened. 3 of the ships broke formation and asked for asylum with the humans. Their crews, mostly from younger species, had seen enough. They wanted to be free too. Dr. Amy Foster watched the battle reports from her hidden laboratory. The quantum effects were spreading faster than she had expected. Every time humans used their abilities, every time they achieved something impossible, the field grew stronger. "It's like a feedback loop," she explained to Dr. Wright during their daily conference call. "The more humans believe they can do impossible things, the more impossible things become possible." Wright nodded. "We're getting reports from human colonies across the galaxy. People are manifesting abilities we've never seen before. Healing wounds with touch, moving objects with thought. Some humans are even learning to communicate across vast distances without technology." Amy felt a chill. "Are we becoming something other than human?" "I don't think so. I think we're becoming what humans were always meant to be." The galaxy kept us locked up, kept us small, because they were afraid of what we might become. The proof came when Agent Rachel Turner, still undercover in the Vorphic embassy, sent her most important message yet. She had found the Council's deepest secret, hidden in archives that were millions of years old. "The prophecy is real," her message said. "The ancient records call them the reality shapers, a species that would either elevate the galaxy to a new level of existence or destroy it completely. The Council has been waiting for us for millions of years." Admiral Sullivan read the message on the bridge of her flagship, the Terra Invicta. Around her, a fleet of liberated worlds flew in formation. Not just human ships, but vessels from dozens of species that had joined the rebellion. "They've been afraid of us since before we even existed," she said to her staff. "They knew we were coming, and they've been preparing to stop us." Commander Lisa Park, now leading the combined fleet's tactical operations, looked up from her display. "Admiral, we're getting communication requests from 17 more species. They want to join the Alliance." Sullivan smiled. "Accept them all. The more the merrier." Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system from the new Terra. "Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting Council fleet movements. It looks like they're pulling ships from across the galaxy. They're preparing for a massive offensive." "How massive?" Sullivan asked. "Every ship they have. This isn't just about stopping the rebellion anymore. They're going to try to end it completely." Sullivan looked out. The final battle began at the edge of the galaxy, where the Galactic Council had built their ultimate weapon. The Dominion core was a massive structure that could destroy entire star systems with a single pulse. It had taken them 50 years to build, and they had only used it once before, to wipe out a rebellious species called the Architects. President Ryan Cole stood in the command center of the United Species Alliance flagship, watching as the largest fleet in galactic history approached the core. But this wasn't a normal fleet. These ships existed in multiple dimensions at once, crewed by beings who had learned to think beyond the limits of normal physics. Final count, Admiral Kate Sullivan announced. 2,700 ships from 43 different species. All united under one cause. Cole nodded. Around him, holographic displays showed the approaching Council Armada. 5,000 ships, representing every major power in the galaxy. But Cole wasn't worried about the numbers anymore. Dr. Foster, he said into his communicator, "Are you ready?" Amy Foster's voice came back from deep within the Alliance flagship. "The quantum field generators are online. But Mr. President, what we're about to do, it's going to change everything. Not just for us, but for the entire galaxy." "I know," Cole replied. "Are you afraid?" "Terrified, but also excited. We're about to find out what humans can really do when we stop limiting ourselves." The Council fleet was led by the Etherian Prime itself, the ancient being that had mocked humanity in the Council chamber. Its massive ship was a thing of terrible beauty, made of pure energy held in impossible geometric patterns. "Rebel fleet." The Prime's voice echoed across space. "You have violated the fundamental laws of galactic civilization. Surrender now, and some of you may be allowed to live as warning to others." Captain Jake Morrison's reply came from the Alliance flagship New Terra. "Prime, this is Captain Morrison. We're not rebels. We're free beings building a free galaxy. And we're offering you one last chance to join us." The Prime's laughter was like the sound of stars being born. "Join you? You are children playing with forces you don't understand. You will be crushed, and the galaxy will return to its proper order." "Wrong answer," Morrison said quietly. What happened next had never been seen in the history of the galaxy. Dr. Foster activated her quantum field generators, but instead of using them as weapons, she used them to broadcast a message. Not a message in words, but a message in pure consciousness. Every thinking being in both fleets suddenly felt something they had never experienced before. They felt what it was like to be truly free. Not just politically free, but free from the limitations of matter and energy and time itself. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Across the Council fleet, crews began to question orders that had never been questioned before. Why should they fight to preserve a system that kept them locked in place? Why should they follow beings who had ruled for millions of years without change? But the real shock came when the Dominion core fired. The weapon's beam should have destroyed half the Alliance fleet instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The humans in the fleet reached out with their consciousness and caught the beam, holding it in place like a physical object. Colonel Steve Martinez, now commanding the Quantum Commando Forces, led the effort. His mind, connected to thousands of other human minds, grabbed hold of the destruction itself and stopped it from existing. That's not how physics works. The Vorthic Fleet Commander transmitted, his crystal form flashing with panic. "Physics works however consciousness wants it to work," Martinez replied. Then he did something that made the entire galaxy gasp in amazement. He turned the destruction beam around and sent it back, not at the Council fleet, but at the chains of control that had bound the galaxy for millions of years. The beam struck something that couldn't be seen, but could be felt. Suddenly, across the galaxy, species that had been controlled for generations felt their mental shackles break. The Kalari, the Threnody, the Kovesh, and dozens of others suddenly. remembered what it felt like to make their own choices. The Etherian Prime, witnessing the impossible, tried one final desperate attack. It reached out with its vast mental powers, attempting to dominate the consciousness of every human in the fleet. But when its thoughts touched human minds, something unprecedented happened. The Prime discovered that human consciousness couldn't be controlled because it existed in quantum superposition. Every human thought was both real and potential at the same time, making it impossible to pin down or manipulate. "What are you?" the Prime whispered across the communication channels. Dr. Benwright answered from the Alliance science vessel. "We're what happens when a species refuses to accept limitations. We're what consciousness becomes when it's truly free to grow." The battle's turning point came when Commander Lisa Park made a decision that changed galactic history forever. Instead of destroying the Dominion Core, she transformed it, using the combined will of every human in the fleet. Park reached into the quantum field and rebuilt the massive weapon at the atomic level. Where there had been a device of destruction, there was now something completely different. A beacon of possibility. The new structure sent out waves of energy that didn't destroy anything. Instead, they made impossible things possible. Across the galaxy, species that had been told they couldn't evolve beyond their current state suddenly found new abilities awakening within them. The Council fleet found itself facing a choice. They could continue fighting against beings who had just demonstrated the power to reshape reality itself, or they could accept that the galaxy was changing whether they liked it or not. One by one, ships began to break away from the Council formation, not to surrender, but to join something better. The Etherian Prime, ancient and proud, was the last to make its choice. For millions of years, it had ruled through fear and control. But as it watched its empire crumble, it began to understand something important. Fear and control were the tools of the weak. True strength came from inspiring others to grow. "Human Morrison," the Prime said, its energy form dimming. "What do you want from us?" Morrison's answer was simple. "We want you to be free. Free to grow, to change, to become something better than what you are. Just like we want for every thinking being in the galaxy. And if we refuse, then you'll be left behind while the rest of the galaxy evolves. Your choice." The Prime was silent for a long time. Then, slowly, its ancient ship moved away from the Council formation and toward the Alliance fleet. "We choose to learn," it said. President Cole felt tears on his cheeks as he watched the transformation. The greatest military force in galactic history had just become the foundation of something unprecedented, a truly free galactic civilization. "Admiral Sullivan," he said, "signal all ships. We're going home, all of us." The journey back to human space became a celebration that lasted for weeks. Ships from dozens of species traveled together, sharing knowledge, sharing culture, sharing the simple joy of being free. Dr. Foster stood in her laboratory, watching as her quantum field generators powered down. The immediate crisis was over, but the real work was just beginning. "Amy," Dr. Wright said, joining her at the observation window, "what do you think happens next?" Amy looked out at the fleet. Human ships flew alongside Vorthic vessels, their crystal hulls now glowing with new possibilities. Etherian energy beings danced around Kalari transport ships, both species learning from each other. "I think we build something amazing," she said. "A galaxy where every species can become whatever they're capable of becoming. No limits, no limits." The new galactic civilization was established not through conquest, but through invitation. Species that wanted to grow and change were welcomed. Those that preferred the old ways were left alone, but they were also left behind as the galaxy evolved around them. Captain Morrison found himself serving as the first Admiral of the Commonwealth Fleet, commanding ships that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. His flagship, the Eternal Vigilance, was as much a work of art as it was a vessel of war, But there were no more wars. A galaxy had learned something important. When you gave people the freedom to grow, they usually chose to grow together rather than apart. Years later, Morrison stood on the observation deck of a space station that orbited Earth. The station existed partially in normal space and partially in quantum space, a testament to what humans and their allies had accomplished together. Through the transparent walls, he could see children playing in gardens where the laws of physics were gently bent to allow impossible games. Human children and alien children, all growing up in a galaxy where anything was possible. Dr. Wright, now elderly but still brilliant, joined him at the window. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had just accepted their limitations? Morrison shook his head. Humans don't accept limitations. It's not in our nature. The galaxy is lucky we're stubborn. Morrison smiled. The galaxy is lucky we remember our friends and our enemies. And we never forget who tried to keep us locked up. Below them, Earth turned slowly in space. It was no longer the isolated world it had once been. Ships from across the galaxy came and went constantly, bringing new